Let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't.
That was Vice President Harris speaking at a town hall event on CNN last evening. Joining us right now is pollster and political strategist Frank Luntz. We are now within the 2-week zone here as we get down to the wire. How close to the wire are we, and what do you think you know about these polls right now?
I think that clip illustrates exactly why Harris is in trouble at this point. And it's something that I don't understand why the campaign does not address. They asked her specifically, where do you stand on the wall? And what does she do? She goes and shifts it right to Donald Trump. Immediately mentions him twice within the first 5 seconds. She still hasn't closed the deal. She still hasn't said to people exactly what she would do. In fact, what she should have done in the opening of that town hall is said, I want to tell you what I'm going to do in the first hour, in the first day, and in the first week. And it's going to take me 5 minutes. So, Anderson, you're going to have to sit tight. Here's what we're going to do by 1 p.m. She didn't do any of that. She hasn't told the public step by step what she's about.
Let me ask you this, and then I really do want to get back to the polls, though, because I think we're really now down to the wire, and everyone's trying to understand what the polls are really saying, not just on a popular basis, but when you look at this Electoral College.
Yes.
My one question, just to follow up on the CNN piece of it, is you don't like her answer. What is the right answer to that question?
The right answer is, as I was just saying, this is going to take me, and you go to the point.
No, but that's still not an answer to the question.
No, so but that's what she does. She doesn't answer the question. I think that's the.
But that's what I'm asking you. So my question to you is, Anderson asked her, what do you think of this medieval wall, or whatever it was the quote, and she's supposed to say what?
She's supposed to say, within the first 24 hours, I'm going to introduce legislation that supports the wall.
That supports the wall, okay.
And supports the DREAM Act for progressives who want people to cater through no fault of their own, and improves legal immigration so more people can come here the right way. It's such an easy compromise, and yet she doesn't say it.
Okay, let's talk about the Electoral College.
Yep.
Let's talk about these swing states that are either up for grabs or not at this point. There are some polls that would suggest that Trump is in such a lead that there's actually not voters left who are thinking about what to do. And then the question to you is, are there voters out there that you think are changeable?
And I now use the word persuadable. CNBC taught me that. I think it's the best way to communicate it. Those who are undecided are likely non-voters. If you're still undecided at this point, you're not going to participate. You're going to vote third party, or you're not going to vote. The persuadables, and it's a tiny percentage, it's about 2% now, because we've now made our decisions. They can be moved by Harris, not by Trump. And I find this fascinating, and I will acknowledge, I will say this on air, that I thought his debate performance was so awful that he could not win. And I'm now saying I was wrong, that the debate turned out not to be nearly as important, because what Donald Trump is saying is not as relevant to people's decision-making as what Harris is saying. So electorally, the states are different. You can't say they're all going to move one direction or another. I think Carville's wrong. What you do with voters of color determines North Carolina and Georgia. How you do with union voters determines Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Latinos.
And how accurate do you think the polls are, recognizing that back in 2016, Trump was undercounted, by the way, by oftentimes 8 and 9 percentage points, right?
And
then you go to 2020, it was down to, 4 or 5 percentage points. In 2024, are folks who are being asked who they're voting for either telling the truth? Is the system? Are they calling cell phones finally? How are we supposed to think about the numbers we see on the screen?
The issue for 2016 in particular was people not participating because they did not want to be counted. In 2020, it was less that and more about who they called or who they did online. A lot of my polling is done online. And in 2024, they tried to adjust for it. What we are sure about is that the trend is towards Trump. And what I am sure about is that it is dangerous to call this election because it is dead even in these swing states.
Do you think there's anything to the and this is a, from one side you're hearing this, that there's kind of a doom loop in that she needs to get out more because she's down, but when she does get out more, she just gets further down?
She is not connecting, and the people who like her love her. But she's not connecting to those persuadables because they want to know.
But what would you do if, October surprises, there may be an October surprise du jour. We've seen a couple already.
But we've been living through them.
Right.
Trump almost being assassinated, Biden dropping out. This stuff that's been happening right now, what's the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We've had 3 October surprises.
What would do you think that, if you were the Harris campaign, you'd tell them to do what immediately?
I would immediately do interviews on shows like this and have you guys go at her.
That might be.
But your point is, you've got to be more than, I'm not Donald Trump, I'm not
Correct.
Joe Biden.
And
Here's
she
who I
could
am.
have disrupted. The town hall was live. So she could have said to Anderson, this is going to take a while, and just keep on detail after detail after detail to the point where Anderson goes crazy, and then she puts it out as a commercial. That's how you change.
They're playing us to the commercial, so you can't take a while, but day after the election.
I'm afraid. I'm genuinely afraid that we're not going to have a decision the day after that, or the day after that. And this show, we warned people 4 years ago, pay attention to that warning, that we could have issues of credibility, of trust in this election.
And is it a both sides situation?
It is now a both sides situation. I know the federal government is paying attention to this. I think that investors should pay attention. I think average Americans should, because this is not going to be decided.
Come on back, because we should talk about
it's
what
like
that
a
means as
recession.
well.
It's like a recession. If you're expecting it, it doesn't happen. Let's hope that's what happens.
Yes, but
hope it's
because
Y2K.
our democracy is at stake right now.
It could be white.